The City of Cape Town, some days ago, secured a final Western Cape High Court interdict which relates to the MyCiTi Phase 2A works along Goven Mbeki Road in Philippi and the wider Lansdowne-Wetton corridor. There was an interim interdict obtained last year, and this final interdict now interdicts the respondents from stopping or obstructing construction, intimidating or threatening workers and officials, and entering construction areas without authorization. SAPS has been directed to assist in enforcing the order. Rob Quintas is the Mayoral Committee member for Mobility in the City of Cape Town. Hello again, Rob.
John, very good to be on the show. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners.
So this was in response to what was actually happening, not a fear of what might happen.
Absolutely. The judges and the courts would not provide an interdict unless there was solid ground for it, John. And there was a tremendous amount of attempted extortion over the work package. In this instance, and we see it across other areas as well. We haven't gone as far as such an effective interdict where we've been able to manage it. But in this instance, it became unsustainable and unbelievable amounts of money were having to be spent to secure workers and contractors on site.
So money was spent to secure workers? Money was
safety and security. Security escorts. Yeah. In order to secure our site, we would have to pay safety and security operational staff to be there with blue lights in order to allow us to do the work we needed to do. And it became completely unsustainable, as well as the disruptions affecting timelines and milestones. And of course, the very real and present danger that people on site necessitated that the individuals and the supposed development and business fora that were implicated be restrained from site with an interdict, and that should they continue or return to site, that it is now seen as criminal with arrests that can be made, and then the subsequent court procedures to hopefully convict and incarcerate extortionists and construction mafia.
Give me and the listeners a sense of how this played out on the ground. What sorts of things were happening? Who arrived with, I don't know, with guns, with pickaxes, whatever it was. So paint a picture of how these extortion attempts unfolded.
Okay. So, look, it normally starts, in this instance and in others, if I can speak in general terms, it normally starts with overtures from a supposed development or business fora, who will start wanting to speak to the contractor and other persons on the site around employment opportunities or security opportunities, from local security providers, supposed security providers, or on behalf of the community, wanting to ensure that people have opportunities to work or subcontract. And it's normally packaged and couched in that manner as a development or business fora in the area. And these become more and more over time threatening, where persons, in this instance, persons with firearms were on site, a lot of intimidation of the persons working on site, resulting in stoppages, sometimes for more than a week or two at a time. And we've had in Philippi, as an example, where we've actually had a security guard and the K9 unit that he was with, both shot. Thankfully, both survived. But it gets quite serious on site, and my business is to build roads and to service communities in terms of service delivery and transport provision. And it becomes completely a concern, and we must take every threat seriously, because we have had incidents where we cannot have officials. I refer to the late Wendy Kloppers, who was executed in a cold execution style in a housing site in Delft, where these things happen. And so we had to seek the court relief. And, we are very grateful that the courts could see the threat, validated it, and then awarded that interdict to the individuals as well as the entities. So it's not just those particular private persons, citizen X, Y, and Z. It is also the various fora that they have claimed or have represented are interdicted from the system.
Your media statement said it was significant that SAPS was directed to assist in enforcing the order, and I suppose in theory it's significant, but I wouldn't have too much confidence in SAPS being able to practically enforce this order. For all sorts of reasons, they have a lot on their plate, and they don't do too well with getting things off their plate. So I hope you are more confident than I am that SAPS is going to do the job of enforcing the court order.
Yeah. I get the feeling you're trying to paint me into a corner, John.
Not at all.
But what I will answer, John, and frankly, is that this interdict does add a different impetus for SAPS. So they are compelled now by the courts to intervene. In other words, if our contractor or any of their staff or any of our city officials go to the local police station and say, this person or this entity came to the site and has now disrupted it, and they provide an affidavit and a statement, then SAPS is compelled to go and make arrests. And that is the importance of this. So as opposed to the normal, well, we need to monitor it, see if it's real, investigate the case has been proven now. The case has been proven. The court has already interdicted those members as well as their organizations for the real risk that they provide. And extortion is a crime. It's a criminal offense. And that is basically what the architecture of this interdict provides, is that SAPS now, instead of having to investigate and sort of scratch heads as to is this a real thing or not, they know that it is. The court has declared it as such, hence the interdict. And then SAPS has that mandate to immediately go and perform arrests and bag and tag the individual representing that organization or the personal, the private person, and then the rest of the procedures go as usual with court cases, court appearances, and hopefully serious convictions that will deter any other construction mafia aligned persons from engaging on our site or any others.
Rob Quintas, the MEC for mayoral committee member for mobility for the city of Cape Town.